Today's topic is about astrology and people. When you practice astrology, you work with people, you work with humans, and you work with their life patterns and their own life in general. So that's why it's very important that when it comes to astrology, that people are given the choice and the freedom um, to not only act, but having this kind of awareness that they have power over their own patterns, lifestyles, choices, or inclinations. However, there are instances where I would say which are maybe more inevitable. For example, if you're a Leo, most Leos I know, they have this energy around them and they just shine when they enter a room. There are Leos who are maybe have maybe different placements, which makes them maybe more quiet. But there is this kind of like quiet strength. And I've met people from so many different Leo people who tend to be very bold and loud. They love parties. And I've also met people who are actually very quiet and yet very, very charming indeed. It's like you notice these people. It's like even if they're just having like they're just drinking their cup of tea and we're among people or there's something radiating. So that's usually a Leo. Obviously, there are also other placements that are going to come into. So, or for example, an Aries is usually someone that acts from impulse, can be more direct. I've also met Aries, they actually more act like Cancerians because they have more moon placements or maybe their moon is in Cancer, so that can make them actually a bit more, yeah, there's like more inhibition. However, when you get to meet them, they are still very direct. So you meet different kinds of people according to the zodiac. Also, astrology, if you want to go deeper and understand all the zodiac signs from Aries to Pisces, it's can be very helpful to observe people for a long time. For example, if you have a Gemini, your friend is a Gemini, maybe your partner is a Gemini as well. Observe, compare, see what they share in common. How are they different? And if you have the chance to look at their birth chart with their permission, it's also worthwhile exploring maybe like what's their Mercury sign? Like how do they communicate? Why is that Gemini maybe less chatty? Why is that Gemini an academic and the other one works at a toy shop? So that's what's so fascinating about astrology. You meet so different people, um, and no one is really the same. But I believe there is like a force that guides through all the people, like a core pattern. You could say an archetype if we apply Jungian theory. And so, for example, a Taurus woman. Usually they're very stubborn. I really like that. Like they don't like they're very stubborn, grounded, good usually at decorating, having a good aesthetic sense. And you have maybe another Taurus woman who is more maybe because I've noticed that many Taurus they're like quiet. So I you have Taurus when you test their anger, they're gonna explode. And then you have other Taurians. They already tell you when you annoy them. So it's not gonna take them a long time to explode. But they will not explode. They will just already tell you when something is annoying. Yes. So in astrology also people will also change, so you will go through different life phases, so that's when it gets interesting to look at like the cycles or your solar return, like how is your birthday from to the next birthday, like the exact position of the sun, like how is it different from last year, so it gives you some type of flavor, or your progressions, like progressions of the moon. And I think some people might also maybe be a little bit like skeptical, um, maybe because they were told that's nonsense. Um, Intelligent people don't practice astrology, like how can this be correct? So um, astrology, I've met people who've never really been into astrology and then they got to get to know their birth charts and then actually makes more sense. And I think there's maybe too much emphasis on the big three. So by looking at the birth chart, you will see the individual who's coming out. So you just don't only see the person with the same sun sign you're trying to understand or compare with another person, but you see with their own quirks, their own challenges, gifts, their history, their trauma, things they're going to probably experience, or a theme that will accompany throughout their life. And that's what you do. So you look at the birth charts and you see and you try to um, only not to make sense of it, but also create meaning, recreate meaning as well for the person, for the client in front of you, so that they're able to um, not only understand, but like grasp like what's behind, like what's here. So you have to clarify, and if something isn't clear, you should also offer that person or the client some kind of like not only guidance, but also if they want, maybe you could say direction. And the main aim when you look at birth charts um, is not to pick everything. Obviously, some astrologers will look, but it's like really it's to create a story. So when you do a reading, or when I do a reading, I tell a story. It's not a fairy tale and it's not like a story I invented, but it is possible that I will rely on myths or legends or something from their own story to recreate this kind of narrative. So they say that like when you get a birth shot, it's like a snapshot of the cosmos at the time you were born. And so it's also very essential that you make it as personal as possible, because the person in front of you maybe don't doesn't know or doesn't understand what you're saying or what you're talking about. So being clear, transparent, and genuine, and having showing some compassion towards their own birth chart, because you get the opportunity to look at something very yeah, personal. So you have to also treat it with care. So you have to be also delicate, because you don't want to crush the person who's in front of you. And obviously, you also have to be uh, aware that there are topics where you might maybe be less certain, and also try to apply ethical measures while delivering a birth chart. Make sure that it is confidential in a safe space, and that no harm is done. And so yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I started with with astrology and people and how they can be different, and then I go a little bit into consultations. And I'm looking forward to yeah to your comments, and I wish you a lovely day. Bye bye.